In this video, we're going to be going through the P settings on the C93 e-bike. It's going to be quite a detailed video, so it's definitely suggest you save this video in case you need to revert back to it at some point. Now, on this bike, it can be a bit more complicated to basically adjust the settings of this e-bike the way they have it set up. It is a bit disappointing that it was not easier, but it is what it is at the end of the day. So we need to get into the parameters first. After you turn on the bike, you need to press the I key, which is just this button right underneath. So after you press that key, you will come to this menu. Now you need to get into the parameters. So the passcode to actually get into your parameter is basically all 9s. So you simply just go on to your 9, set all your values to 9, skip again, 9, basically 4 9s, okay? Then after that, you should be able to get into the menu. Okay, here we are. P1. P1 is basically the brightness of the display here. So to be honest, P3 is the brightest it goes. It does the job. Not a lot to complain about. Leave that be. To go on to your next parameter, you press your middle button, which is your power button. Now, as you can see there, this went completely back to, unfortunately, the main menu again because I was not fast enough. So again, we will need to go into the I menu to get into the parameters once again. And here we go. To go on to your next parameter, you press the I button. So P2 is the mileage. 0 means kilometers and 1 means miles. So in my case, I will leave that at 0. Go on to the next parameter, press your middle button. P3 means basically the voltage. Now the voltage of this scooter is of course 48 volts. Don't change this at all because you have options of 52, you've 60, you've 24, 36. 48 is the default, so just leave that be. P4 is basically the sleep timer, so you can set this to whatever you want. I'll actually change this to 5 because I think 5 is the sweet spot, so I'll leave that be. P5 is basically your assistance, so you can change this if you want. I would just leave that be at 50 or 51. There's not a lot of information about this, so I would just leave that be at completely default, to be honest, because I'm not sure which setting is which, to be honest. So I think that was at 50 or 51 kilometers an hour, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm probably just going to leave that be. If I can go back to the 50, I think it was 50 51. So yeah, just leave that be, don't touch that setting. And P6 is the wheel diameter, which is set at 23. It says in the manual that this should be default to 26. I'm not sure why that is, to be honest. I'm gonna have to investigate that because mine is set at 23 inches, but in the manual it said it should be set to 26. So I'm gonna have to investigate that, but I am getting a quite accurate speed, so I'm quite happy with that. Just leave that be. You can see what I mean. They made it so complicated and not as detailed compared to some manufacturers out there. P7 is speed adjustment, default 1 magnets. Leave that be at default 1. Otherwise, what will happen is you will get basically incorrect speeds, and that will basically give you a bit of a headache because you're not sure what the accurate speed is that you are going. So again, we need to get back into this menu, which is an absolute pain. Okay, where were we? We were at P7. So P8 is basically your speed. So basically 1 is 20 kilometers an hour, 2 is 25 kilometers an hour, and 3 is basically fully unlocked. Okay, only do this if your country allows it because this bike is quite fast. So you just need to keep that in mind and be very careful. P9 is 0 start. So it's entirely up to you. 0 means 0 start, 1 means non-zero start. So this e-bike is of course on non-zero start. P10 is the drive mode setting. So let me just go on to that. It's default set at 2. Basically 0 means assistance drive, determines how much assist is output through the assisted gear, at which point the handle is invalid. Again, there's not a lot of good explanation on this, to be honest, because it's very technical. One is electrical drive driven by a lever. At this time, the assist gear is invalid. 2 is basically both assistance driving and electrical coexist. Electric driving is ineffective in zero start state devalue. So I'm just going to leave this at level 2, to be honest, because I like the way the bike was already set up out of the box. P12 is basically your assistance sensitivity. From what I can gather is that this is basically your how basically quick the bike picks up on your sensitivity level as you are pedaling, similar to a torque sensor on some N-way e-bikes, for example. So I'm just going to leave that be at default value 1. P12 is the power assisted startup intensity range from 0 to 5. Again, I'm not sure what that really means. It's the way they have this worded is absolutely terrible. The P13 is the magnetic setting, default 12, leave that be. P14 is the controller current limit, which is set between 1 and 30 amps. Again, that's set to 15, leave that be. Controller under voltage is 40 volts, so as soon as it hits 40 volts it drops out as a safety procedure basically. P16 is cruise control. Unfortunately I can't get the cruise control off on this, but funny enough, somebody commented on one of the videos I made on this bike, and it says in the manual that P16 is cruise control. However, P17, he said, actually changes this to cruise control. So you can, if you have it on, I think he said 1, cruise control knocks off, and if you have it on 0, cruise control is on. So I'm gonna have to test that out. Okay, so I just tested the P17 setting and I set it to level 0 and 1, and unfortunately the cruise control is actually still on the e-bike, which kind of sucks. It says it requires controller support, so I don't know what that means. So it should be an option to change that on the parameters. Quite disappointed with that setting, to be honest, because I'm not a fan of cruise control. But in the meantime, I'm going to quickly go through the list of error codes. So error code, of course, 0 means the bike is completely normal. 1 means reserve. There's not a lot of details on this. By the way, this very small slip you might have thrown out in the box on your Emoko. See if you can find it, because it is packed full of this information. P3, it says, is the assist sensor failure on the cycling sign. I don't know what that really means. Obviously it's probably to do with the assistance sensor that's located where your pedals are. P4 is cruising at 6 kilometers an hour, which is an error code. Again, that doesn't make sense. P5 is another error code, which means real-time cruise. P6 means low battery voltage. Sorry, not P6. Error code 6 means low battery voltage. It's such a bad thing the way they have this worded. Error 7 is motor failure. Error 8 is the turn handle failure. Error 9 is controller failure. Error 10 is communication reception failure. Error 11 is communication transmission failure. Error 12 is the BMS communication failure, which will be the complete disaster. Error 13 is headlights are out. And error 16 is electric lock short circuit. So that's all the information I have on the Emoko. This video was a bit difficult to make because I was trying to go off this here, and the way they have it worded is a nightmare, and the way you have to change the settings of this bike is an absolute nightmare. But once you have it done, you know, you should be good to go. Nothing to worry about. It's a fantastic bike, to be honest. Definitely have a look at that review if you haven't. It should be on the screen right now. In the meantime, if you have enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you in the next video.